Greetings, adventurers. This is DM Kurt, and starting next week, I'm going to be running games at my friendly local gaming store, uh, Pantheon Comics in St. Helens. So, I put up my poster, my sign-up sheet, saying that we're going to be playing 5th edition, and the campaign is going to be based on somewhat based on 2nd edition materials. So, I'm going to be running a thing called Night Below, which was a pretty good campaign back in 2nd. I understand that there's a 5th edition conversion. I have the PDF for 2nd. I'm just gonna run it as I feel best. But I also wrote on the sign-up sheet, you can make your own 2nd edition, make your own 2nd level characters based on these parameters, or pre-generated characters will be provided. So okay, a friend and I made a list. We went through 10 of the character classes for 5th edition, made a random list of the playable races, but instead of 10 playable races, we cut it down a little bit. We stayed mostly with, we would roll 4 choices of human, and if you rolled like a 5 elf and a 6 dwarf, 7 halfling, etc., half orc, gnome, staying mostly within the what we call it, the old-fashioned playable races. I did not include tieflings, did not include dragonborn, did not include warlocks, who I absolutely just do not like, and artificers. Didn't do those. Anywho, okay, so we're rolling. We get to ranger, and randomly we pick dwarf. Okay, why not? You don't usually hear of Dwarven Rangers. The Ranger is an outdoorsman class. Their big deal is the forest, as you see it behind me. And dwarves are an underground race, usually. Okay, people usually don't put that together. There's no reason it can't work. I mean, a certain number of dwarves would have perhaps either fled or wandered out of the caverns and discovered the outdoor world and the above ground world, and perhaps liked it. Maybe it's a particular dwarf who has lung issues and wants the open air, or one with claustrophobia. Why not? Or perhaps just some families of dwarves live in the cities of mankind. Okay, cool. So we went with this. Had to pick a background. And I thought let's have this be folk hero. Now, folk hero from Player's Handbook is probably one of my favorite backgrounds. As written, it suggests that your character was a peasant of some sort who proved themselves worthy of the adoration of the rest of the town by doing something truly heroic. And your minor benefits are that you have a good camaraderie with the common folk. So that's cool. I like that. That's a great heroic background. Perhaps you saved a bunch of people's lives in a forest fire or a flood, or perhaps you were the one who stood up to the evil noble guy who was doing terrible things. That's good. I like to run that background as a character who has some just camaraderie with the town. Maybe they didn't do anything inherently heroic yet, but you're just very popular amongst your fellow townspeople. So that's the direction I took this little background, and I just wrote a few lines on the back of the character sheet. I wrote local because you're one of the local people of this area, and turned to the back of the sheet, and I'd picked a few skills. Brewer. You can brew beers and alcohols and stuff, as proficiency with brewing tools. Okay. a dwarf who can make beer. That's almost standard. Alcohol maker, outdoors. Perhaps he runs a moonshine still or something like that, away from the taxation-minded eye of the Duke. And perhaps he gives away samples of his wares to his fellow humans, his fellow peasants who are human, because he's like, this works for me, this tastes good to me, let's see how popular this is. And maybe, gives away a little moonshine to some of the locals, since, that's why he's on good terms with people, because he's generous in spirit. I've seen local examples of folk heroes. In the city of St. Helens, if you want to call it a city, we had a mayor who has done a couple of rather impressive things. So one time we had a pretty decent snowfall. Everybody's, the county and the city, they're plowing roads. And the local businesses were complaining. They were saying, hey, nobody plows our driveways. We're out there with shovels and stuff, and we do what we can. But, businesses shut down, essentially, because nobody can get to any of our local businesses. Well, the mayor himself didn't order anybody to do things. He himself jumped on a backhoe. And he fires it up, and he just goes down Main Street, and everywhere there's a parking lot for the local businesses and such, turns in, drops the bucket, starts scooping snow out of the way. He's getting things moving, and he's not doing it by ordering other people. No, he's taking charge. Impressive. I don't know if it was his own backhoe, because he's a former landscaping guy or something like that, or whether he just borrowed one from the city yard because, hey, I'm the mayor, I need to use this. And there's there's an extra one sitting there just gathering snow on top of it. Go for it. But impressive. And there was another situation that Mayor Rick Scholl of St. Helens got into. So one dark and stormy night, quite literally on a weekend, somebody's boat broke down on the Columbia, and they managed to drop anchor, but they were stuck. They're stuck out there in the water, and they couldn't get a hold of anybody with the sheriff's department, rescue. But this was a husband and wife. The wife went on Facebook, and she posted to the local Facebook group of highly motivated busybodies and random gossipers that, hey, help, if anybody knows anybody that can help us, we're stuck out here in the storm and our boat's broke and we can't get to shore. Now, the Columbia is one big river. Don't get me wrong, that thing is deep and it is wide. The mayor himself was sitting at home on a late Friday night, well after dark, and he's going through Facebook, he's scrolling, he's like, oh, whoa, dude. Gets into his own little fishing boat, puts out there onto the Columbia in the middle of this wind and rain and whatnot, rescues these people, throws a line over, drags their boat to shore with his boat. What are you going to do? What are you going to call that guy? That guy would be a perfect example of folk hero background. Is he going to win however many re-election campaigns? Maybe, maybe not. I think he's going to. That's the kind of guy who would bear that folk hero background. So that's one inspiration. There were other characters we made. We rolled half-orc and sorcerer together, and I'm like, well, what do we do that? What are we going to do with that? Well, the new Unearthed Arcana came out for the Kryn / Dragonlance themed stuff. Lunar sorcery, moon sorcerer. Okay. So I wanted to test out that new subclass. So I said, okay, I'll pick the subclass since we have to. We have to do if I'm doing a string of level 2 characters, unfortunately, the cleric and the sorcerer, you have to already have their subclass picked. So I went, okay, let's see how the lunar thing works out. We'll assign that to the sorcerer. And on the back of that character sheet, I just wrote, you have an amulet. It has a legit piece of the moon in it. Why not? We're going to see how that plays out. But anyway, that's just my musings on Dwarven Rangers, the folk hero background. And DM Kurt is out.